Hello, my name is Melissa, and I did my report on Madonna Thunderhawk. Okay. For my table of contents, I'm gonna start off with her background, her involvement, her goals, and then I'm gonna go on to resources and then my sources cited. For background, Madonna was born in 1940 on the Yakutan Sioux Reservation in the southern eastern of South Dakota, and she grew up on the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation. She was a victim of systemic violence, pressures of boarding schools, anti-native racism, and federal government intrusion. Madonna's community, when she was a bit older, they were relocated to San Francisco by the federal government by force. And this event actually caused Madonna to begin her participation in activism, and she began her activism in the late 1960s. This is an image of the Sioux Reservation, and then this is an image that represents what boarding schools did to indigenous children. They basically wiped them of their culture and forced them to be like the colonist. And then it's just an image of a protest that occurred. Okay, for her involvement, Madonna was part of the 1969 occupation of Alcatraz Island, which took place on November 20th. And it was about a group of 90 Native Americans in which they landed on Alcatraz Island. And they stayed there for the next 19 months. And their hope was to reclaim the rock in the name of all American Indians. And this is an image of a part of the protest. She was also part of the Wounded Knee movement, which took place on February 27th in 1973. And the main goal was they wanted to send out a message of the unsafe living conditions and the generations of mistreatment from federal and local agencies. Madonna expressed how they were originally her group, they were just passing through, but they ended up staying longer because she mentioned a lot in various interviews how she noticed how most of those people had never experienced the true meaning of freedom, and that convinced her to stay longer. Another thing she noticed was that how the opposing team always had a bunch of military vehicles and a bunch of guns, whereas they only had weapons and they didn't have anything armed. And whenever the press would appear, they always made it seem as though they were the true danger. Madonna was a co-founder of the Women of All Red Nations. She founded it along with Jeanette McLeod. They founded WARN in 1974, and the movement began as a warning. Basically, they wanted to call attention to the obstacles that Native women had to face towards full citizenship, forced sterilization, family separation, cultural integrity, and treaty rights as well. As of now, Madonna is still very active, and she's working as a tribal liaison for the Lakota People's Law Project, and she is fighting illegal removal of Native children from tribal nations into the state foster care system. And this is the front logo for the Women of All Red Nations, and this was an image that they took when the movement of Wounded Knee occurred. Her goals, basically, she wanted indigenous women to have control over their reproductive rights. She wants the federal governments to acknowledge the mistreatment and better the conditions of Indian reservations. She wants to prevent unlawful removal of indigenous children from reservations by child services, and she wants to begin reintroduction of sustainable traditional foods and organic farming to her reservation and others as well. She sees it as a fundamental form of survival and empowerment. These are images of different protests that have occurred towards reproductive rights, land rights. This is a conference that happened towards the indigenous children being removed illegally, and this is just a chart that I found that shows the benefits of traditional and organic farming, which is it supports global needs, it tackles droughts, it helps local farming communities, it eliminates greenhouse emissions, and it also raises the nutritional of crops as well. This is I wanted to include this because throughout my research I noticed how there was a bunch of resources. So these are if you want to know more about indigenous activists or movements that are occurring, these are resources that you can access. There's the Zen Education Project. They provide history of activism starting in the late 1960s till today. There's Native Hope. Basically, this website keeps individuals informed about missing indigenous women and murdered indigenous women. They also provide resources in which an experience can be told and help can be given. There's also the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, and they provide support for indigenous women who face violence, homelessness, harassment. They also provide information about different movements being achieved and provide ways in which others can get involved. And this is just different. This is a protest that they did for missing and murdered indigenous women. This is an image from the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. This is the website for missing and murdered indigenous women, and this is just the article that has different information about different protests and movements that have occurred. And this is just all of my sources cited, and thank you.